Hi all, welcome to this session. We were discussing about how a production facility thinks about producing goods and how the process planning is usually practiced and how the related activities of process planning and control or production planning and control, all those situations are usually managed inside a company. Now today we'll get into our discussion on the next concept that is important in the context of operations management, which is quality. So, we'll be very much familiar about this concept called quality. Quality is, according to our experience, whatever satisfies us. So, if we are expecting some kind of a result from a product, and if we are getting that result, then according to us, that product is of quality. And so that is a customer's way of looking at quality. Now, a company is usually doing it in a matching way. So, let us look at the dimensions of quality in terms of, suppose we have to define quality. So, from a customer point of view, if it is fitting to the customer's intended use, then that product is of quality. But if you look at the producer's angle, then in order to deliver that particular performance to the customer, the product need to conform to its design specifications. So conformance to specifications is what quality in terms of a producer's point of view. Whenever we think about quality, the immediate company that comes to our mind is Toyota. So how come Toyota got synonymous with quality? So along with our discussion about quality, we will be looking into this aspect. How come Toyota became synonymous with quality also? Now, if you look into the history of Toyota, Toyota got into automobile production only in the year 1935. But Toyota was in the field of manufacturing even quite before that. They were into production of another product, the production of that product, and even patenting of many product versions happened almost from the year 1880 itself. So from that time onwards, Toyota was in the field of production, and many quality related practices were actually a continuation of some practices that they were following in those industries. So we will look into what exactly happened in those industries and what kind of concept got imbibed into the new automobile industry as far as Toyota is concerned. Then there is this milestone that Toyota could achieve called the NUMMI project, NUMMI project, which they did along with General Motors in USA. So that is where the world really noticed this company, and that is where academics really got interested in Toyota's achievement and Toyota's model, and Toyota production system TPS became synonymous with quality. So Toyota actually started their production by producing power looms. So the earlier patents of this company was all in this segment of loom production, where they produced automated machine controlled loom technology, and they made a lot of versions of they made a lot of new products around this particular technology, and there were many patents that Toyota could achieve in this particular segment. They are continuing that particular production even now. So Toyota now also is a major supplier of loom technology for the world. So this is one industry that we are not usually familiar when we think about Toyota and production. But then their production practices started with a long history, almost a history of more than a century, with power loom production. Now, coming back to quality, when we think about the characteristics of quality, there are two aspects. As said, there is a customer aspect and there is a producer aspect. And when you think about the customer's aspect of quality, then customer is looking at these kind of factors when we think about quality. There need to be performance, there need to be safety, there need to be various features that will deliver this performance. It must be reliable. When the customer needs, then it must deliver the appearance of it, the serviceability of it, and the durability of it. So as far as a customer is concerned, these factors are important, and these factors define what quality is. But when we think about a producer, so how producer need to think about it? So producer thinks all these aspects in this particular way. So it must be usable. Customer must be delighted in terms of quality. But then, in order to ensure that part, the aspects of quality must be measurable. If you need to ensure that the products that you are producing is of supreme quality, then you need to actually ensure that the processes that you follow is of certain standards and quality. And if the process quality is important, then the process design becomes important. The product design as well as the process design become important, and quality goes to that stage. So overall, quality is not just an outcome, but it is a process that we need to incorporate from the beginning itself. From the beginning means from the design stage itself, as far as a production process is concerned. So producers usually treat quality as an innate aspect of the entire production process. Let us look at the costs associated with quality. There are different types of costs associated with quality. One is external failure cost, another is internal failure cost. There is a preventing measures. If you implement prevention measures, there is a lot of costs associated with that. Then there is administration cost that are associated with the context of quality. So what is external failure cost? Suppose you send a defective product to the customer and the customer is rejecting it, returning it back. That costs the company not just in terms of that particular product, but in terms of the customer's goodwill, in terms of bad press. So it's affect the brand image of the company, and it is a huge cost. You need to spend a lot to regain that confidence from customers. So that is something that companies are really worried. So companies usually don't want external failures. Now, internal failures are those failures when you identify a product failure towards the end of your production, when the product is in the final stage and you find that there is a defective part in the product and you have to reject it. That is an internal failure. After everything, you are finding that product is defective. That is again going to cost the company in a big manner. Now, in order to remove these external as well as internal failures, you have to actually implement a lot of preventive measures into that production process. So, preventive measures also will cost you. So, you have to plan processes properly. You have to actually put control practices in place. You have a lot of training costs associated with it. Like you have to train the people who are inspecting, the employees who are executing those processes in those processes. So there are a lot of associated costs in terms of implementing that preventive measures in that company, and general management costs, as well as you need to maintain it. You need to maintain these particular measures in the company in the long run. So there are different types of costs associated with it. If you look into the relationship between cost and quality, you will find a very interesting connection that goes like this. Suppose the number of defects come down, that means there is good quality. Then the cost of the cost or the loss also comes down. So if you bring down the defects, then the cost of maintaining quality, the cost associated with defects also comes down. But then in order to ensure that supreme quality, you have to spend money in terms of these kind of things. So that is again a decision that companies make. If you have to have a supreme quality, you will not be able to many times make a mass product. You have to only cater to a niche audience. So in that case, usually factories or companies go for an optimum quality where they are able to control the cost in an optimum manner, as well as they are able to deliver quality to the customers in an optimum manner. So this is a sweet spot usually companies try to reach in terms of the quality cost relationship. Now, coming back to the context of Toyota, so Toyota started their production in 1935, but as you know, Japan got a real big hit during the Second World War, and by the time Toyota actually in 1935, the cars that Toyota produced were not that good. Even after the Second World War, when they actually shipped few cars to United States of America, it got rejected and they sent that shipment back because those cars were of poor quality. So Toyota was badly hit by Second World War because there were no resources available. Japan was badly hit, and similarly, almost all the companies in Japan was hit by this particular thing. So Toyota have to put stringent measures in place in order to reduce the wastage of almost all things in factory floors, whether it is money, whether it is materials. So to ensure that, they innovated, or they actually followed a system called the pull system. So there are two approaches that usually companies follow in terms of putting products in customers' hand. One is called a push system, the other is called a pull system. In a push system, companies usually produce huge number of products and they promote it, they market it, they allure customers to buy those products. So a lot of money is spent towards marketing of that product. So that is a push system. You force the customers in some ways to purchase your product. But then pull system works in the other way. It starts from the customer. When the customer puts an order, then that order is processed and a product is produced according to that order. So it is like make to order. The push system usually makes things to stock, but then the pull system usually makes things to according to the order. So it is delivered to the customer's order. So pull system usually gets initiated by the customer, and push system usually gets initiated by the producer. And Toyota followed a pull system so that there is no wastage, there is no inventory that they have to store, and they were very good in that to ensure this particular message, this particular communication from the customer. They implemented systems to install a proper flow of information from this end to this end. Now the system that got evolved out of that approach is called total quality management system. So Toyota, when they implemented a pull system and when they implemented a proper method of connecting to customers and producing it according to the customer's demand, they had to ensure that all the processes down the line was perfect, kind of perfect. When they started implementing such a system, it made sure that all the processes inside what is happening in that company, that factory, was moving towards perfection. They were kind of ensuring process quality. In order to ensure process quality management, Toyota had to focus a total reduction of wasteful activities as well as processes inside the company. Material usage need to be reduced. So they had to remove almost all the wastage inside the company. So looking at what total quality management is, it is to create a climate where there is continuous improvement for delivering high quality to the customer. Now, the 7 ways that Toyota identified to remove were these. So Toyota thought and they implemented a system where there is minimum inventory, almost no inventory, where there is no wasteful motion happening, where there is no over processing happening, where there is no over production happening in terms of quantity, where there is almost no wastage, like things are it is called just in time. Things are arriving when there is a need in that, so there is no waiting time. There is no unwanted transport happening. Defects are almost zero. So they ensured that all these 7 wastage, in Japanese this waste is known as muda. So all these 7 waste are removed out of the system. So these are the steps that we need to follow in order to ensure quality. So when you need to ensure process quality, you need to define what quality means for you. You need to develop a strategy to ensure that quality. You need to focus your functions and all the levels to ensure that those quality related strategies getting implemented. You need to have an integrated approach. You need to ensure that all the participants in that system is contributing towards quality. You need to build a proper measurement and appraisal system, benchmarking system. You need to ensure that top management is involved so that in the future there is no unwanted cost cutting measures implemented, and there is a sacrifice of quality in the context of that. So you need to ensure that top management is involved in the entire process. You need to give ownership of quality to the employees, and usually employees in the lowest level, because they are familiar with the issues and they are the masters of solving those issues. To put it in one sentence, you need to make quality a religion in your system. So these are the steps that you need to follow to ensure quality. So the three major focus areas to ensure total quality management is to have a continuous improvement process in place, to involve everyone in that process, and to ensure customer satisfaction. So you need to have a proper feedback taking mechanism, so that you constantly know what are the problems faced by customers, as well as feedbacks, the good things that you are doing to maintain those things. How to implement this on a practical level? So the training aspect of this comes in the format of problem solving. So in order to ensure process quality, almost all the people who are conducting those processes need to be problem solvers. They need to find solutions to problems that is incurring, that is happening when they are producing. So these are the major steps involved. We already looked into the steps involved in implementing a quality process. Roughly speaking, all these steps are actually a plan, do, study, act cycle implementation. So you need to actually have a plan, implement that plan, then study what has happened after implementation. You need to take feedbacks, then according to those feedback you need to act again. So again replan, do. So you need to ensure that this cycle is going on inside your facility to ensure total quality. So the four basic steps in that cycle is, as said, plan, do, study and act. So by studying current process, you need to develop a plan for improvement, implement the plan, collect data systematically for evaluation, evaluate that data, using the insights, again act, then standardize those steps, improve those steps for the future. So for improving, you need to plan again. So constantly you are ensuring that this value addition or this improvement process, which is referred as kaizen in the context of so Toyota in Japanese, the continuous improvement process is termed as kaizen. So kaizen process is in place. You need to ensure that kaizen process is in place. Now, I need to introduce this person to you. So, this is a prize promoted by Japan. It is known as Deming Medal. So, it's an international medal that is given for ensuring quality in manufacturing facilities inside companies. So, this particular prize was grabbed by JSW Steel in 2019. So, Deming Prize is instituted by Japan in the name of a person called Edward J. Deming. So, who was Edward J. Deming and what is the importance of this person in the context of quality ensuring practices in Japanese companies? So, he was a professor consultant in an American university, and he visited Japan, and he could teach his statistical control or statistical quality control measurements to the companies and the top executives of companies in Japan. And very interestingly, they wholeheartedly took that approach and started implementing these steps inside companies in Japan. And that gave them a bigger edge compared to the American companies at that point of time. So Deming became a celebrity in Japan. So Deming promoted these 14 points to ensure that a quality process is maintained inside a company. So the 14 points are: create a constant purpose towards improvement, adopt a new philosophy of ensuring quality, cease dependence on inspection. So the inspection is after doing it. So you need to actually reduce your dependency on inspection to ensure quality and ensure that processes are of quality. In the process of awarding business activities just on the name of price, improve constantly, institute training on the job, institute leadership instead of supervision. As said, when you have to ensure that the processes of quality, in order to ensure that there is proper leadership and training practices that is happening inside the company, you need to empower employees to take challenges and to report problems and to suggest solutions. So you need to drive out fear from that situation, break down barriers between departments, eliminate slogans, eliminate work standards, unwanted work standards, remove barriers for ownership, institute an educational program properly, and you need to have a proper commitment from the management side ensure. So one practice that companies follow to have this process in place to have a quality circle inside the company. So quality circle is simply a team of people who are ensuring a quality, ensuring that quality practices are happening inside the company. So quality circles can be defined inside departments to ensure that proper quality production practices are being run and monitored, and proper feedback is given inside company. So as said, when Deming introduced statistical quality control measures, this new field of quality establishment came into place, which is called statistical quality control. So what is happening in statistical quality control? You can place proper statistical measurements to ensure that processes are of quality, as well as each stage production is of a certain quality. So you need to identify variations in processes, variations in production outputs, as well as you need to have proper practices of measurements to have a statistical quality control process in place. So there are different types of variations that can happen inside production situations. One is called chance variation, which is of random in nature. So you cannot completely eliminate chance variations because it is uncertain. Then there is something called assignable variations, where you can find the cause of a variations. When you can identify the cause of a variation, you can take measures to remove that cause in the future practices that you follow. So depending on these variations, there are two types of data that you can measure. One is called attribute data, yes no kind of data, where you measure something and you say this is okay or this is not okay. So conforming, not conforming, pass or fail kind of tests can be done in a situation. So that kind of data is known as attribute data. You can also have variable data in place, where you measure length, weight, those kind of things. So when you have this kind of data, you can have different approaches to take decisions using this data. So in order to take decisions as a part of statistical quality control, you use something called control charts. So as said, control charts are charts that is prepared as a result of the measurements that we have discussed earlier, where you take a sample, you measure various parameters of that sample, and you plot your measurements according in comparison with an expected value, a mean value. And when you measure, you usually define an upper control limit and a lower control limit. And when your measurements, when the sample, most of the items in the sample fall inside these boundaries, then you usually think that the product is of good quality, and you usually proceed with it. And when you find that the measurements are falling outside these boundaries, that means there is problems with the quality and there is problem with the process, and you can identify the sources of those problems and ensure that these kind of variations and problems are removed and these kind of variations are not happening. So control charts are used for that. A spin-off of statistical quality control is Six Sigma standards. So Six Sigma standards defines that a process must not produce more than 3.4 defects per million. That means 10 lakhs. So if there is 10 lakhs of products that is produced out of a facility, there should not be a rejection of more than 3.4 products. So that kind of stringent quality measures and process ensuring practices need to be put in place to ensure a Six Sigma quality in place. So according to Six Sigma, a defect is any process output that does not meet customer specifications. So you need to define these process standards before implementing a Six Sigma process. So if you identify a process that lead to something that is actually resulting in a customer dissatisfaction, you need to ensure that process is removed or a new process is put in place. As said, the fundamental objective is to implement a measurement based strategy that focus on process improvement. So this you need to be thorough. It is process improvement that is focused in Six Sigma, not final product inspection based improvement. When you ensure that the processes are of quality, you ensure that the outcomes are also of quality. So there are two approaches to ensure Six Sigma practices in companies. One is called a de-make process, which is a modification of the plan, do, check, act cycle, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, control. So this particular procedures is implemented to improve a system for existing processes. The second process followed by Six Sigma is a DMA-DB process. So when you want to implement a new process in place, you usually follow these steps, which is define, measure, analyze, design and verify. So the earlier was to improve and control. Here it is design and verify. A new process need to be designed and checked for its performance. So usually Six Sigma projects are implemented inside organization in this with the help of these three category of professional, which is a three level of Six Sigma project implementation leadership, which is Six Sigma green belt, Six Sigma black belt and Six Sigma master black belt. So usually companies initiate Six Sigma projects, and these projects are led by the people who are experienced, and when you climb up the ladder of Six Sigma project implementation, you can even reach a Six Sigma master black belt kind of a competence, a professional competence. Another practice that companies follow nowadays to ensure a quality process inside their organization is following the specifications laid out by ISO. Stands for International Organization for Standardization. So ISO have laid out various processes and quality standards to ensure general management quality as well as specific quality in certain industries. So here we are going to look at a general management quality measure, which is ISO 9001 put forward by ISO. So this is for general quality management. So as far as ISO is concerned, quality refers to those features of product which are required by the customer, and usually the final quality is defined by the organization itself. Quality management means what the organization does to ensure that its products and services satisfy the first thing, which is quality requirements according to the customer's needs. Quality management also means what the organization does to enhance customer satisfaction for so that continuous improvement is achieved. So ISO 9001 is defining generic standards. So any type of organization can actually follow this set of standards laid out by this particular organization. They usually define a set of standards, and any company can follow those standards and procedures to ensure a process of proper quality inside their company. So Six Sigma and ISO are two major quality ensuring practices usually followed by companies. Now coming back to the Toyota story, so I said we will be looking at one particular situation where Toyota tied up with General Motors, their traditional rival American company, and both the companies together changed one of General Motors factory that actually was shut down because of poor production, and they revamped that factory using Toyota production system. So this is actually a book written on the basis of the revamping process that happened in that factory. We look into actually what happens inside a Toyota production system, and through this video we will also see how that factory, these practices are implemented in that particular General Motors factory. So this is a video where a particular factory of Toyota is shown. This factory produces forklift trucks. So this is a Toyota factory which is producing forklift trucks. So this video will show how Toyota production system is getting implemented in this particular factory.
The Toyota
so
production
as said,
system
this is a production line in that factory. So when you look at this particular factory floor, you can find how the process sequence is defined in the factory.
When
how
manufacturing
areas
using
are
the Toyota
marked
production
inside
system,
the
Toyota
factory.
only builds what is ordered.
This is their
This ensures overhead costs
just-in-time
are in check,
manufacturing
and
system.
it provides stable pricing for the customer. Equipment or production system. Toyota only builds.
So this is their just-in-time system where information is flowing in one direction, and you can actually know the status of your work progress.
Ordered. This ensures overhead.
This is their overhead projection where everybody in a factory floor can see what is happening as of now inside the factory, how much is progressing in each stage, and even the workers can make
Equipment orders
decisions.
are slotted into the production schedule based on the production forecast and slot availability. This ensures a level workflow through the factory, and is a process called Heijunka. Toyota holds
So
many of its
Heijunka
suppliers
is
to
a
the Heijunka
technique
process as
to
well, to
facilitate
maintain
just-in-time
levelized
production. So
material
they
flow and
Toyota
just-in-time
usually
component
takes
delivery.
Heijunka even to
On
their
the assembly line,
suppliers to
parts and
ensure
components are
that
delivered
supply is
directly to
coming
the
according to the
associates.
demand. There is a
Toyota
level of
forklifts, tow
demand that is
tractors, and
maintained in the
AGVs are
factory.
used to deliver parts to the
So they
line,
have
following the
processes and
assembly
procedures
sequence,
in
which
place
is
to ensure
dictated
that there
by the
is no
daily
huge
production schedule.
spikes
The
in demand.
just-in-time principle is
So that is
critical
what Heijunka
because it
is.
allows associates to receive the right parts the moment they're needed, in the exact location they're needed, for the specific forklift they're assembling at that time. Assembly associates.
So I want you to see this particular thing. If you look at the facility, you can see these kind of lights here. So these are indication lights. Suppose this worker is seeing something in this particular truck and he have identified a problem. Then this worker can, if he is in a position to solve that particular problem, he can use a switch and stop the production line to address that problem. So the workers are given that kind of power to even to stop a assembly line. So when that is happening, when it is a warning switch that is worker is pressing, then this yellow light will turn on, and when it is a stop switch that this worker is making use, then this red light will turn on and the production line will be stopped, and the worker can resolve that issue before progressing it to the next level. So this is how Toyota is ensuring worker empowerment and decision making inside their factories, and there is a proper training process in place to ensure that workers are responsibly making these kind of decisions.
Focus on standardization and specialization, which allows them to work on many different lines and produce many different products.
The Toyota production system guarantees product quality by making each person in every process in our facility a quality inspector. So rather than having inspection at the final process to make sure the product is good and to our standards, we rely on each associate to be an inspector. So therefore we have 900 inspectors on the shop floor that are trying to make sure that good quality is built into the product.
In order to continuously improve the production quality and safety in the supply chain, regular meetings are held on the shop floor, and the TPS culture requires a consistent presence of managers and other leaders.
So this is a coach. Toyota have named this person as a lean coach, where this person is in charge of ensuring that a just-in-time production practice and total quality management practice is happening inside the facility. So he is usually serving to the people who are producing. So if these people face any problem, they can actually make use of this person's support to solve that problem. So these people initiate the call. They can call the person and report the problem, and together they usually tries to solve that problem.
In and around the assembly lines, to take consistent quality a step further, associates perform quality checks on every component they touch before sending their work down the line. They mark each component using a colored marker, and if you look closely at any Toyota forklift, you'll see multiple marker dots on internal components. This indicates the component has passed through various quality checkpoints before reaching the customer. When the forklift is completely assembled, it goes through a final inspection. 100% of Toyota products are tested and inspected in order to guarantee the highest.
So as said, Toyota makes sure that 100% of their products are inspected and checked for quality towards the final stage. So this is how they ensure that Six Sigma standards are kept.
Level of quality for Toyota forklift customers. Should a customer have an issue with a Toyota forklift, the local dealer addresses the problem immediately with the customer to ensure the forklift is up and running as quickly as possible. Then, the dealer files a warranty claim with the factory. The warranty claim process includes a thorough inspection of every faulty part after it has been sent back to the factory for analysis. If the defect is confirmed after the part has been analyzed, countermeasures are put in place at Toyota to ensure the same defect doesn't happen in the future. After a countermeasure has been developed, it becomes standard in order to reduce future warranty claims. Thanks to this process and the Toyota production system, Toyota customers can be confident they'll always receive a quality forklift. The Toyota production system results in a decrease or total elimination of waste, unnecessary components, and pollution. For Toyota customers, the Toyota production system means shorter lead times, cost savings, and the highest quality material handling equipment in the industry. To learn more about the Toyota production system and how it can help you be more productive, visit toyotaforklift.com or contact your local Toyota forklift dealer.